This Bitcoin analysis video is particularly for hodlers of the large cap altcoins that have been doing pretty well until roughly right now. For example, your Phantoms and Lunas, so on and so forth. I want to show you something in the charts for Bitcoin that could spell longer term downside action, and it does align with my origin wave theory, which I'll link you to that at the end of this video. But this is a much simpler way to look at things, so let's dive into the charts. No time to waste. Are you ready? Let's go. I have up the monthly chart with the two things here. The red line is the monthly 10 EMA, and down below we have the accumulation distribution for the monthly chart. And what I want to do here is show you something extremely simple. So in almost all downturns that had any sustained move to the downside, so we've had essentially 3 of them in all of Bitcoin's history on the monthly chart. You can see back in 2013, before that big pump, for example, you had no monthly candle closures below this line, not one. But in all of these downturns, right here, these 3, 1, 2, 3, the pattern was almost identical in regard to what I'm about to show you. So, for example, I will put a circle here for when there was a candle closing below, and then I will do the same thing here. First candle closing below, and first candle closing below. Let me see if I can circle it a little bit better than that. All right, and then the next thing I'm going to do is circle where the second time you had a candle closing below. So now I'm going to make this a different color. I will make this bright blue, and the second one closing below, and the second one closing below. All right, so now let's go to current price. And we had one candle just barely close below. It really just squeaked it out, but it's still close below. And then you have a second candle closing below. And what I want to show you is what happened in each of these cases. So far right now, you can see you have pink, blue, pink, blue, pink, blue, pink, blue. Okay, you're starting to see patterns here already, right? Okay, so let's look. After the pink circle, you had a rally. Then blue happened. Pink circle, roughly a 38% rally on 1 month, and then the blue circle happened, which blue means you had another month close below, which started your extended downturn. You had pink, and then, so pink circle first closed below, rally, then your second close below, and then it wasn't an extended downturn, but you had a very strong downturn, coronavirus related, but the pattern remained the same. Then again, you had pink circle, first closure, a longer pump this time than a second closure, all right? So now what I'm going to show you is the idea that this accumulation distribution is potentially suggesting that instead of a downturn that's fast and furious like this, it might be somewhere between this case and this case, or somewhere between the 2019-2020 case and this case here. It's going to be somewhere between, I think it might be somewhere between these two, not as severe and as long as this one, but a little bit longer than this one, for example. And I want to show you by using this accumulation distribution chart, which is very, very simple to read. So I'm going to expand that. And before we jump into here, make sure that you flip your phones or get flipped off. You need to hit the like button for me so that I can continue making videos for you. Also, what's going to help me out even more so I can continue making content is if you leave me a comment down below. But what I want you to write this time for me is I want you to tell me for 2022 what you think the very lowest price Bitcoin is going to hit will be. I want your answer down below. You don't have to give reasons why. You can simply leave a number. Don't even need to put a $sign. Let me know what you think down below. And what's going to help you particularly is I deliver time-sensitive information. A lot of my analysis is short-term time frame. So if you want me to deliver that to you more efficiently, hit the bell and make sure that you select all alerts for that. And so let's dive back to the chart so I can show you, this extended not so good news. If you want to be able to turn on your microphone and camera and ask me questions directly and live, check out the links to the Discord community in the description section. Follow me on Twitter at @CososVerdes2, CososVerdes with the number 2. If online communities aren't your thing, then go ahead and hit the join button below this video to discover more options for exclusive content. All right. So now we're going to look at what happened at the pink and between pink and blue here, but looking at the accumulation distribution. So after the first closure below by the pink circle, you had a pump. Okay, so let's zoom in to see, hey, maybe why would that happen? So I will make this just a little bit bigger. So the accumulation distribution still had a positive slope at the time this happened, which gave enough oomph for a rally to happen before the slope turned negative. So it's essentially allowing the slope to turn negative. This first closure below, you can see how it aligns with this. The slope was still positive, and you got a rally, and by the end of that rally, it turned negative, and you had an extended downturn. So pink here, the slope was still positive, little rally. By the time it hit the second one, the slope was negative, right? Okay, so pink again, you had a positive slope. By the second one right here, you had a negative slope. And pink here, you had a positive slope, just barely, but the slope was still roughly like this. It was still positive, and then you had a rally. And then on the second turn, not only is slope negative, but it's way down there this time. So this rally was, I mean, I'm actually kind of, this chart is indicating that rally, you know, I would hate to say something to the effect of it wasn't supposed to happen, but I don't know. This chart is saying it's surprising that people were buying crypto at that time, which is in line with my idea that these large cap alts, you know, your Lunas and Phantoms are just, they're really going to get their butt kicked, folks. All right. So now, so we see that pattern. Now let's look at how big these humps were versus 2020, where it had a fast and furious dump and recovered rather quickly. So see how small this hump here was? So you had a fast and furious correction, then off to the races. But this hump, and this hump are all bigger than these. Therefore, you know, in theory, it'll take longer for it to, you know, kind of correct and come back up, or it's probably going to turn negative, right? Okay, so take a look at this. Now, each time that the slope got negative and got close to the neutral line before before green turns to red. So you see how this is essentially the neutral line down here? Look, so down here, how long did that take? 213 days before it got back above the line, right? And look, and that's the shorter time frame. Look at what's happening right now. It's approaching that line. Has there been any time in Bitcoin history where it approached the line coming up from above and, you know, turned around on the dime? No, not one time. The closest example is this, but it did not get close to the neutral line. It got a negative slope in 2016 and then took off for the races, right? But so that this case is not the same because right now it's approaching the neutral line. Okay, so let's take a look at these other cases here. That took almost 500 days, so 450 days. This case here took a little less. It took almost exactly a year, all right? And note that the hump is smaller. So the biggest hump, the longest time below the line. Second biggest hump, the second biggest time below the line, okay? And as of now, so let's not count this one. The third biggest, a much smaller. So the I guess the ratio is, you know, linear, or, you know, how long it spins below this line is relative to how big this hump got essentially. So now that this hump got bigger than that hump, I would fully expect that price is going to, or at least this indicator is going to spend more time below this neutral line than what happened here, right? And so that's 182 days, a half a year. So we could potentially, but this was a year. So this is a half a year. This hump is smaller than that one. So you would expect from this analysis that time will be spent under this somewhere between 6 to 12 months, right? So let's just say 8 months. So let's measure that out. So it hasn't hit the line yet, so one tick down. So I'll do it from next month, February, 8 months. So that's October, where it crosses. I'll mark it down. I'll draw a line here, something to that effect with the neutral line right here. So now this dip below this surface area. So if you could fill this in, right? Fill this in. The surface area of this should be larger than this surface area and smaller than this surface area. But note though, once it gets a positive slope here, it's somewhere in the middle, price does start going up. So it's not like it goes down that whole time. It simply won't make all-time highs until, you know, past the point it, you know, much past the point it turns green again, right? So take a look. Look how long from the 2013 highs of roughly 1,300. Okay, so that it passed a previous market cycle highs at this point here. So from 1,300, the slope was green for quite a while before it passed those all-time highs. But it doesn't mean price is going to go down for 8 months. Rather, we'll take 8 months before it can get a sustained rally that could then lead into another, you know, a bull run of sorts. But for this moment, so let's split this in half. This means another 4 months of potential downturn. And, you know, if you're holding on to, wrong scene. If you're holding on to large cap alts during these 4 months or even longer, okay, so Bitcoin is a first mover, right? So when Bitcoin finally starts to charge up and is still under all-time highs, altcoins are still typically going down. Sometimes Ethereum will follow. You'll have a couple big cap alts. So the last season, Phantom was among the first movers in 2020. It actually did really well. So that could happen again. So you're going to have some that move with Bitcoin initially, but the vast majority of altcoins, all right, even after that 4 month in the middle of that, you know, surface area half circle there, most of them are going to continue going down or just kind of, you know, round out a bottom, and they're not going to do anything typically until Bitcoin has broken all-time highs. And it looks like on this chart, and which happens to align with my September/October idea with my origin wave theory. This aligns with it almost to the exact month, right? So two totally different types of analyses, and I'll link you to that video at the end, align almost to the exact same month with the exact same idea. So it looks like, you know, we might not find a bottom until April or May, maybe even June, and then Bitcoin starts coming up back, you know, within its 30K range, and, you know, by September might be back at 60K around that point. But until then, altcoins, perhaps until September, are going to bleed. So you need to be really careful if you're holding on to these large cap alts that have screamed up, right? So things like Decentraland Mana have, you know, corrected pretty heavily and actually hit my exact line. But some of them have been more stubborn and keep going up, although are making lower highs at the time. For example, Luna has a series of 3 lower highs and lower lows at this time. Actually 2 lower lows, but 3 lower highs. And the bleed out, in my opinion, is starting to become more and more obvious. So if you're a hodler of those altcoins, be very wary, because they can go down a lot farther. And most of the evidence in the charts, whether it's mid-term price analysis or long-term price analysis over the, you know, the course of 2022, it's saying that they're going to bleed. And there isn't much evidence against that. There isn't a lot in the books, right? So if you want to go ahead and check out my origin wave theory, go ahead and click this video here. If you want to learn how to set up a chart like mine and be able to understand other price analysts like myself on YouTube, then go ahead and click this video right here. And if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed, hit the circle right here in the middle. You just got 𝘾𝙤𝙣𝙣𝙚 worldwide. Peace.